I'm Ryan Hitzel, founder of Roark. Welcome to Tangled Yarns, an audio exploration of the stuff that's in my head, with people that push the limits on storytelling, adventure, and everything in between. Hey everybody, it's episode 3 of Tangled Yarns. I'm Ryan Hitzel, founder of Roark. We're in a session today with a good friend of mine, Ethan Herrera. He's a runner. He's a badass. He's an ambassador of ours. He tests product. He runs crazy races. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm stoked.
Yeah, stoked you're here. I probably should have mentioned, and it's a cliche, but probably the nicest guy I've ever met in my life. Has a real addiction to smiling,
Yeah.
even 150 miles into a race.
Yeah.
When we started, I did see it kind of fade at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, when the hallucinations came, it kinda levels me a bit,
Yeah,
but then seeing Drew out there was, psyching. It was sick.
he always brings a smile to my face too,
Yeah. Yeah.
Drew. Well, right on. So we're gonna hang for an hour and talk about life, talk about running. I think you're a multifaceted guy. You're not just a runner, but that's sort of how we met. Maybe like a year and a half? Is that too
Yeah.
much? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really cool to get to know you and run with you a little bit and follow your journey.
Yeah. I'm psyched to be a part of the company and just kinda rep the brand, and you guys supporting me and all these crazy stuff has been insane, so I'm super grateful as well.
Right on. So what's up? What are you doing? How'd your day start today?
Good. This morning did some climbing and then at the gym that I work at. Um, Kind of a random day because we have a competition next week, so a little bit more days off of setting. So I'm taking advantage of doing some personal climbing. And
You set routes for that competition?
yeah. So that's like a pretty full on thing. We'll have 3 or 4 days of the entire gym closed. We'll take down all the climbs that are already up and then set an entire new gym. And those are pretty heavy days. Like last year, our last main day, we had like a 12-hour set and climb day, and we were all just so fried. Our hands were toast, and just our brain, because setting is also just a lot of mental like chess and
Right.
moving pieces and figuring out movement. And when you're setting for people stronger than you, like objectively, there are some strong people out there.
Yeah.
Uh, it tests you a lot as well mentally than physically. Like we're trying to make sure it is physically possible, but obviously out of our range. So it's a lot of plan, and it'll be a sufferfest in its own climbing style next week. I'm at 200, so I'm so it's gonna be cool.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
Still sore from that race?
No, dude, I recovered so well. Actually, it was kind of crazy. I finished on a Monday morning, and then I think I probably had my next like real run was that Thursday, and I felt 100%. It was like a 4 mile run, and I just pushed the pace without looking at my watch or my phone or anything. And ended the run. My pace was like just over 7 minutes. So it was like 7:10, I think. I felt really good. So I was like, cool. Like, I think we're back, especially because my ankle the entire race was pretty shot and it like swelled up a bunch. And the last 30 miles, I physically couldn't walk or run no matter how hard I tried.
Yeah.
So with like lack of sleep and that happening, I like was expressing to everybody like, dude, this might be my last run. I don't know what's going on. I was like,
Let's stop there. Let's stop. I don't wanna spoil everything this early in the pod, but, why don't we go backwards here a little bit? Um, you're pretty early in your run journey, at least from my perspective. We were talking about that in terms of, like, ultras and endurance running, like, you're still pretty
yeah,
young, and you kinda this great, like, horizon in front of you that you get to run into as far as, like, aging and getting better, getting stronger, getting smarter, all these things. Um, when'd you start running?
I started running almost I want to say 5 years ago now. I started 2021 January, and I know that specifically because it was a New Year's resolution of just COVID was in the middle of it and nothing going on, and climbing outdoors is just kind of destroying my skin a bunch. So I needed another hobby to pick up. and my sister's a big runner, and I was pretty envious of her always finding ways to sneak out of the house and go for runs. So I would run here and there, like a couple miles throughout the week, and then come the new year, I was like, I have nothing going on. Might as well train for my first marathon. Like, let's just kind of swing for the fences because
Mm.
I hated running and I never like even considered that. So I was like, oh, let's consider this like unachievable goal just to keep me entertained for a bit.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, January 2021 is when I started, and I did that first marathon later in April.
Mm.
Uh, so like pretty quick progression. I mean, I think ignorance was bliss at that point because I had no knowledge in running. My sister as well, she cross country, but marathons is also not her. Like she had nothing or knew nothing about it really. Like she told me even in the process of training, oh, that she read that after a marathon you can't run for like weeks or months or after. And I was like, I don't know. Like I ran 10 miles for the first time yesterday, but I feel like I could run at least a mile after a marathon. So then it became a fun game of
Yeah.
proving her wrong. So, um, yeah, so through that training, I think I just kind of fell in love with having a goal set. And I remember specifically having a 17-mile run. And I don't know why that number just seems so high to me. And I was like, I don't think I can do this,
Mm.
but we're just gonna give it a try. I didn't have a set route for these 17 miles. I had a 2-mile loop in front of my house. And I just wanted to do it to be safe of like, if I got to bail, I can easily quit. So I just sessioned this loop until I hit the 17 and I was like, holy shit. And I just felt like I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
And it was nice because it was like my own little world. Like nobody knew what I was doing. My parents, they're doing their own thing too, are just like, okay, like you're just being crazy. But um, yeah, it was pretty cool to kind of push into that. And then eventually doing the marathon, I had somebody drop me off at just some random city, and then I ran this point to point back home, and it was probably like the best run I've ever felt, like in that entire block, which was crazy because it was the longest one.
Yeah.
And that immediately got the gears turning of like, oh shit, like this thing that I deemed like truly not possible or just something that I never even considered is something that I actually really liked and fell in love with. Like, what else am I missing out on things that I'm not questioning or
Was that
like,
was that something in your life that poked its head any earlier? This like thought of like, hey, I want to go do impossible hard things. Was that a theme at all?
not entirely. I think, um, I did enjoy, like, in high school, I wrestled all of high school, and that was my only sport, and I never wanted to try hard in it. I was like, I don't wanna go to college for this. I truly don't even really like the sport, but I did enjoy the camaraderie and, like, the friends that I gained from it, and then the high school that I went to they wrestling was their thing. They were top of the state, like, they're crushers. Temecula Valley High School in California is insane. When like, during the practices, our coaches would just drill us, and I enjoyed the practices more than the actual wrestling meets because in those practices, like, they'd kinda break us down every time and give us an opportunity to keep pushing and persevere, and I think they did really well in that, and that's the only reason why I stayed all of high school. I was like, I don't when I tried wrestling in matches, I only really tried when my mom was there because I don't wanna get my ass kicked in front of my mom. But other than that, I was like, I truly don't care. Like, I'm just here to hang out with my friends. And during practices, I just enjoyed all of us kind of suffering together and doing this hard thing together. And I think that definitely carried into the running of this sucks. I'm suffering, but I think I can find a way past this. And
Early adventures into the pain cave.
yeah, straight up. Yeah. And I think I'm not an emotional guy. And up until Speed Project, funny enough, I haven't cried since, like, high school, so, like, almost 10 years ago, and in high school, it was running in the wrestling room, cutting weight, and they're just making us run circles in there, and, like, we're sweating, and I just kinda, like, broke down, and they're just like, "Okay, get up, keep going," and I just kept, like, running and crying in the wrestling room until, like, we made weight, and ever since then, yeah, the next time I cried was Speed Project.
Yeah, a cry every decade. I think we could
Yeah.
move on that.
Yeah.
Try to cry once a year.
Yeah.
I can. Let out some emotion, but that's interesting. Yeah, so you started just kind of working your way up. You hit 17, enjoyed it, ran your first marathon. Um, so what was it at some point, was it about the competition with others? Was it about competition with yourself? Was it just about accomplishing that goal? Like, what was the driving force as you started to add miles instead of back miles?
I think it was competition with myself, and, I just like the idea of having, excuse me, something, I deemed just, like, not possible for myself. And I wouldn't say not impossible entirely, but, like, not seeing myself as a runner and, like, "Okay, I'm gonna run a marathon." That in my at that point, in my head, ultra marathons weren't a thing. So I was like, "That's, like, the peak of running. Like, I don't think I can do that, but I'm just gonna try." And then when I got there, obviously in the process, I heard of ultra marathons. So once I did it, I played with the idea of running a 50K. So, I live here in Oceanside, so a month later, after that marathon, I ran a 50K just on the 101. I just ran the 16 miles out and then back home. And that one hurt. That one kinda broke me a bit, but I still did it and started playing with, the ideas of entering races, and competing in that sense. And competition I've found lately is not a main driver for me. I do enjoy it, but I think mentally for me, it can be a little exhausting, finding out in a race or having the stress of, like, trying to chase somebody and somebody's chasing you, can be a little more exhausting for me rather than the actual run. Um, but very rarely am I ever putting myself in that situation, and when I do, it's I want to be there and, like, that I kinda get that itch to compete. But I think I find myself wanting to do these, like, challenges or these adventures and just kind of having fun with it and just keeping it more personal to myself. Um, and yeah, I honestly have, like, kind of bad luck in races. Like, my first race was a 50 miler with snacks. And we obviously did our own thing, but the night before, race was on Saturday, and Friday night I got food poisoning. And it was my first race, and I was gonna not go, but I was like, "This is my first race. My whole family's out here. Like, I can't just not do this. I might as well toe the line and see how far I get." Um, and I ended up doing it, but I couldn't eat the entire run, and water barely stayed down the first half. So I was just a ghost at the end. I finished the race, but at the finish line sitting down, my legs just started seizing up and everyone was saying I just looked like a goat. I was just pale and which made sense. I ran 50 miles, I think with only eating like half of a waffle from like Honey Stinger.
Oh, nice.
That was just terrible. It was the worst experience ever.
Your first experience, where you probably started to think about preparation. And
Yeah, yeah.
what am I doing before this thing? What am I doing during it? Who's supporting
Yeah.
me? Yeah.
Yeah, it was gnarly, and again, like, I did well, and, like, I didn't even know my placement. I just was like, "I gotta survive," and I finished, I think, 4th that year, um, but that wasn't even, like, of concern. I was just more of like, "I gotta survive this thing. I don't wanna give up anymore." 'Cause like, halfway, I'm like, "I'm already there, like, I gotta just bite down and keep going."
Yeah.
So, that was a hell of a race.
Yeah, the beginning of many. Yeah, it's so interesting, like, when I've run races, like, I think when I started out, I was really because I was, like, a soccer player, I played sports and, surfed and stuff, and, it was in a lot of those, you were competing against people, right? And so I got
Yeah,
through my first sets of races, and I was, like, racing people and just bonking, just, like
yeah,
and the minute I started repositioning it as a plan and a plan that I needed to execute on my own pace. And, it's not that you're not hunting people down here and there, but like you
yeah.
gotta run the race. And then maybe the last, like, 2 miles, 5 miles, however long the race is, then you start to uh, just throw everything out the window and just go. But
Yeah,
so much of running is just I know for most people, it's such a personal thing, you know? This time, like with yourself, by yourself, thinking so clear-headed too. What's that all about for you? Is it, mentally when you're out there on the road, on the trail, what kinda, like, space do you create within your mind, during whether it's a, 10-mile run or a 100-mile run? What does that look like? What does it feel like?
I think for me, my mental game or not what's going on in my mind is I think it's very quiet, no matter what it is. If it's like negative thoughts, um, or it is like to motivate myself or anything, it feels very quiet. Which is I think why I love that space as well, just because I tend to like make things not more than what it is, but I just think about a lot as my day goes on, like day to day life with like running and setting and like the kids that I coach and like it's just so much. And like life can just, the volume of life can feel super loud. And with running, having like physical motion and movement and depending on the trail, just like flowing through everything, it just, any thought that comes to my mind is like peaceful and quiet.
Mm,
And at times it can be weird with, again, if I am like in a kind of a pit of just kind of thinking low about myself or like I shouldn't be here, this and that. Like it still feels like gentle and quiet. I think that's why I'm able to easily push past those thoughts because it's never anything aggressive.
mm,
It feels because it's Mother Nature and it feels like it's a gentle like conversations with myself with an audience being that. Like just having somebody listen into my own thoughts. 'Cause I never really feel alone, you know?
right, right.
It's a cool connect with the world.
Yeah.
Feel low and vulnerable and you're having a hard time, but again, you're outside and, you know, the trees and the sun, and it just feels like I'm never alone out there, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can relate in the sense that, like, you got a lot going on in life, and there's stressors, and there's challenges, problems you're trying to solve. Just a lot of static. Just I think for most people, on a daily basis, it kind of like kicks into gear in the morning, and then it kind of just raises throughout the day.
Yeah.
Running, it's not just running. I think there's other sports where you feel it too, but I think running, especially in nature, has this uncanny way of just emptying your mind. Like
Mm.
once you get in rhythm and you're, a mile down, down the trail, like, I just feel like stress, thoughts, anxiety, complication, just like it's just like shed. And so then your mind, you're blank and you're flowing. And then all these really rad, when, for me at least, like that's when cool thoughts happen. That's when actually solve problems. And
Yeah.
it could be a challenge that like I hadn't been thinking about for years or weeks or days. And once you empty out your mind, it's really amazing like what it can start to produce again and what I do think there's something. I mean, I bet like a track athlete would argue this, but or a road runner. But there's definitely something about being in nature, not having any impediments, and to your
Mhm.
point, sort of like you're alone, but you're not alone. You're actually just in this new ecosystem, that's part of you that you're running through, you're running with. Um, yeah, it's such a gift.
Yeah, and, my friend Sarah, who just finished hiking the PCT, one thing that I found super interesting, she said was coming home, she felt like it was like the world's a part of the Matrix and, like, flying home, everyone was on their phones, everyone's doing their own thing, and she just felt like she wasn't there. She just spent 5, 6 months on trail, and then coming back, everyone just felt so disconnected and she felt more connected to just life in general on the trail,
Mm.
and I feel like that's, like, kind of my escape from that, like, being stuck in the world and in the matrix of life, and, um, it's, like, just a good way to obviously unplug, but then just kinda realign everything, and then if I do have an issue that I'm supposed to solve, but because of life, I just kind of forgot about it, I do find it, like, floating back in my head, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, this is an issue. This is an like, a solution and problem solver." Like, it's kinda back in my head, and I'm kinda thinking of that issue again, and that I guess should be solved from life, so
Yeah,
it is overall good connect.
yeah. I studied the psychology of dreaming. Um,
Well,
UC Santa Cruz, which is like a pretty trippy place, and so it was an interesting course and very creative, and a lot of that was kinda like, when you sleep and you're in that REM sleep and these dream states, that's what happens, your mind sort of empties, right? And then it's,
yeah,
uh, kinda project, with free will.
yeah,
Um, a lot of, a lot of creatives and musicians, tapped into, you know, unbridled creativity in those moments, and I think whether you're creative or you're just a regular person, it's just it's an interesting state of mind to, I guess, let your thoughts wander, so
yeah.
cool. So now we're talking, like, 100 milers and, all the way up what was Vegas, like, 276?
Was, 287.
287.
Yeah.
So, take me through the journey of, like, a marathon or even a 50 miler is, very impressive, but when you start getting to 100, 200, 286, like, these are different feats.
Yeah.
Let's keep going, like, why? So, go through kinda, like, how you initially got there as a challenge to yourself, it was, like, accomplishing what you thought was impossible, so is that trend kinda, like, still lining up as we stack miles here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, so for me, it was I hit the marathon, and then the next big goal was the 100 mile. So I kind of just kept that process going with the 50 miler, and then I had um, a 12-hour lap race in Joshua Tree, and that just served for again just trying to go as much as I can in the 12 hours. And I think I hit around 70 to 80 miles in that race. So then the next step was 100. So that was just all challenging myself, and then after I hit the 100, I didn't know what much to do. I think my next race was Trail Fest last year, the 50K.
Hmm.
And funny enough, in Trail Fest last year, they showcased a film by Sally McRae, who foreran the Mammoth 200. And I saw the film, and it was like, hell no, like what the hell? That's insane. Like, not only is it 200 miles, but it's up here. Like, that's crazy. And just the idea of running 200 miles like, for some reason in that film, like, kinda, like, sat in my head for a bit, um, and even in all this process before, I was building a community of flow state, so all my attention in running was pretty much kinda guided there, into
State program.
yeah, and, kinda growing community there and everything, so my personal connect with running wasn't very much there. And, I'm sure Speed Project just popped in my feed, and I was like, "Oh, what is this about? Like, this is crazy." And then seeing the run from Santa Monica to Vegas, like, that was like, "Whoa," like, that's feels very home to me because I know exactly where those points on the map are. I'm like, "That's ridiculous because 'cause you're running across California, through the Mojave Desert." I mean, depending on the way you go. Um, but that Seeing that and thinking like, "That's insane, I can never do that," and then realizing, "Oh, that's the same thought I had with the marathon," that, like, kinda struck with me, and I was like, "Oh, shit, like, I kinda have to do this now."
Let's get into that. I've participated in that race, not in the same way you did,
Yeah.
but as crew a couple times. So I remember you started thinking about it, you called me and you're like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing the speed project solo."
Yeah.
Dude, epic, let's do it, let's find a way to get you in there, and, I remember I think I called Nils and I'm like, "Dude, we got this guy and he's trying to get in." He's like, "Oh, shoot, we're already closed. Registration's closed." I think they have a certain mix of men and women that they like to obtain, which is awesome, and so we couldn't get you in, and I remember calling you and you were trying. I'm like, "Dude, we can't get you in this year. So bummed. I thought we could, like, sneak you in some way, but
Yeah.
yeah." And you just looked at me and you smiled, and you're like, "Cool, I'm gonna do it anyway." And I'm,
Yeah.
"What, during it?" And you're like, "No, no, no, I'll do it, like, the next week." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "It's on, this is sick."
Yeah.
So that was, let's talk about it. So you got your family together from flow state to crew. Uh,
Yeah.
so just a quick little rundown on the speed project. I assume anybody that's listening to this has heard about it or done it, but it's an unsanctioned race. It's unaffiliated with anything in endurance running. A group of guys and girls conceived of it and really just started doing it on their own. God, maybe like 10 years ago, something like that. Um, Out of Santa Monica Pier, you end at the Las Vegas sign. You get there. There's sort of an OG route, which is like the I guess the original route. It's a little bit longer. It takes you through Death Valley. You can't run on freeways. That's kind of the only rule um, when you get into the freestyle route. So um, I think Nash Mater maybe gave you our route
Yeah.
from. Yeah, so we had a pretty killer cheat sheet of this route that Nash had designed, which was really, really special. And so yeah, you just get there, right? You try and get there as fast as you can. You've got a support crew, but there's nobody really timing you, at least in your race, and you're just out there for 3 days. So
Yeah.
Let's get into it. So that was up to that point, this would have been your longest run, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it was from 100 to 287. So in my head thinking, okay, this is almost triple that 100, and that 100 was pretty freaking hard. It really scared me, but I just kept, I think just through what I've done prior of doing something that I'm scared about, but also in the back of my head, I'm like, if somebody can do this, I can do this. Like I'll figure it out. I trust myself. But this one really scared me, and like getting my crew together, it kind of just came together. Like my friend, I only asked Jaden honestly to join, because I know he's also just really good at film. So I was like, dude, would love to have you, and that was easiest yes as well. Like he was stoked. But Sarah, she heard that I was gonna do it and asked to join. Miguel asked to join. Like my buddy Nick, like everyone wanted to be there, and I had to put no effort into getting a crew together, which was great because again, I was just terrified. Like I didn't pack for the race or for the run until the night before because I didn't want to do it. I was like, this thing's coming, but I like if I don't pack, it's not gonna happen, right? And so I think I packed until like 11, 12, but then I had to be up at 2 a.m. to mob out over there. So I didn't even set myself up really for success. But yeah, the idea I think of trying to do what I see is impossible for myself really kind of kept like pushing me forward, and
Mm.
just the way of life and everything kind of just dropping these like gems in my lap. Like a big roadblock for me was the route. I was like, I have no idea where to go, like what route to take, and I tried to build one on my own. Um, and it was just taking forever, and it was like tedious work that I was kind of getting frustrated with. But then I asked Nash, and again, easiest yes, and he gave me everything in the matter of like 5 to 10 minutes, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like, said,
When Nash and I scouted that together, we got shot at
"What?
outside of Started Wells. We didn't tell you that.
No."
Yeah, it's a one thing I didn't mention is the speed project. Most of the entrants, it's a team race. So I think it's from like 6 people to you could have 25 if you want. So when we've done it as a team, we've done it with boys and girls, and it's essentially a relay, right? So totally different when you do it solo. They also do it solo, but it's less. Maybe 25 people total would do the speed project solo. So, as you embarked upon this, you only had yourself and your crew to motivate you. I think, like, when we did it and we had, I think it came for us 6 people. I think it was 6 people. At least you have other people to push you and keep you in the game, and
Yeah.
you're all going through this together. And in the relay, I think it averaged about, I don't know, from 60 to about 60 miles each, something like that. And so it's totally different. You're doing it like it could be a mile, it could be 15-mile stretches. Like it's just it's a whole different deal. So
Yeah.
I could imagine as, someone who's running this distance for the first time, running by yourself, you may try and conjure up ways to not show up, like forgetting to pack before.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you got into it pretty quick. At least, you got a film coming out about it. You just did a
Yeah.
premiere. It looked like you got into it pretty quick. I know there are some extremely challenging parts that you talk about in the movie, but
Yeah.
what as someone who's crewed in it and, which was really difficult to stand up
Yeah.
for that long, but, it's a faster race when you have a relay. But, I mean, I saw our crew just go through so many walls and just, like, near mutinies, and "Why are we doing this?" Like, "Why are we trying to do it fast?" And I always reminded them, I'm like, "We're not trying to do it fast, we're just trying to have fun." But
Yeah, yeah.
you guys are all fast, so the more fun you have, the faster you'll probably
Faster gone. Yeah.
So what were your walls? What were the moments that really tested that impossibility clause that you have in your life?
My first wall, which is a physical wall, was or like mental, but like not a physical wall. But at mile 45, around 45, in I think Laverne, I was just climbing a pretty solid hill over there, all roads still. Um, but up until then, we've had, like, really good cloud coverage, and then the clouds parted, I was getting cooked under the sun, so I was just not drinking as much as I should, so I think in cause of that, I almost passed out doing this, like, climb, like, super randomly as well. My body was already, like, a little tired, and I know I usually hit a wall around then, but for some reason with the drinking and, probably just nerves and everything. I just got like chills and I just felt like super lightheaded. So I had to like stop dead in my tracks and make sure first I was okay, and then realize like, oh, I need like food and water right now. And my crew is still almost 10 miles out. We had pretty large sections, so I was pretty confident in my ability. Uh, so I just found it to be quicker and less of a hassle even to just find the nearest spot and go get food. And like a little off route was a Sprouts. So I like walked like a quarter mile maybe to the Sprouts and got like some coconut water and some food. And I know I look like crap because people are just looking at me all funny. And yeah, I like sat in the parking lot and I was like, okay, like this is where it gets real. This is gonna hurt. Like, am I ready for this? And
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, this is like, I know from then on, it was just gonna be a death march because, yeah, I just felt terrible, like way worse than I would have wanted to. Um, and that was the only moment where I thought I can quit now and that's fine because we're not far from home. We're not too far into the race. Everyone is still just psyched and nobody's feeling like a negative emotion yet. So if I wanted to quit, it's then. Um, but I just found a way of like, okay, like, fuck it, like, let's just keep going to mile 60 and see how I feel there. So after like 5 to 10 minutes, and I called him as well and was like, "Yo, this is situation. Um, kinda get ready." Like, because it's instead of like fun video, like piecing at like the film camera, it's like I'm just gonna keep my head down and just kinda get working. And that's exactly what it was. They were ready for it as well. And I think because of them, again, is why I was obviously able to do it. Like, right when I met him, they had a pacer ready, and we just both kept our heads down and just got to work. And same thing with the next pacer and next, all the way to the end. So it was at that moment was like a really big wall. Through the desert, it was on another challenge of the sand, and um, I think my body just wasn't ready for that many miles on road. So by the time we got to Victorville and started treading into dirt roads, my knees were just shot.
Mm.
I don't even know the name of the muscle above the knee, but there is that muscle up there that just it didn't cramp, but it locked up. And in the very beginning, it wouldn't allow me to bend my leg. So I'd have to take like a couple breaks and try and roll it out, wait for it to like release. And then over time, it just got super sore. And because it cramped up a lot or just locked up, it hurt more than it ever has. It was just an exhausted muscle.
Yeah.
Um, so we'd put, like, compression sleeves over my leg, but for the sake of shoving ice in there and just holding the ice while I run and walk, through it. And I think the next, like, big wall was, through that last section where you actually I remember you texting me as well, like, knowing where I was, knowing what was about to happen, and I was like, "Alright, let's freaking get it." And it got me pretty good.
You talking goal line or where are we talking?
Yeah, yeah, so, like, the end of power lines,
Ah,
like one of the bigger climbs, I believe, but we were there at night, so I had no idea what was around me, and all I could see was just like this stairway of dirt up this mountain, from our headlamps in the car behind me. And our GPX profile or elevation profile showed that we're supposed to do a downhill descent to the RV. So as we're trending downhill, I'm like, cool, just got to survive these next like 9, 10 miles until the RV, and then last section, last 50 miles, like, cool. And as we're going down, we all of a sudden start hitting a climb. And I was like, oh, that's weird. This wasn't on the profile, but whatever. And we're going, like a mile goes. I'm like, holy fuck, we're still going up. And we just keep going up. And like 3 miles in, I'm like, we're on the wrong way. Like, this is my watch is wrong. Like, I was
yeah.
just blown out of, yeah. So we had to like stop and check the maps and we're going the right way. Just for some reason, the profile map just didn't show this massive climb we had to do. Um, which is just a glitch, I think, in the watch. So ended up being like a 6 mile straight up climb and not knowing it was there. During this entire time I was hallucinating, seeing just clown faces on the ground, the impressions in the sand, and then any big cactus or tree on the side was like a nutcracker, which is really weird. And none of it was like extremely scary, but I just paid no attention to it because I was just so aggravated with having to do this climb.
Yeah.
And I also just felt bad for my crew because they were excited to get to the car. My buddy pacing me, Miguel at the time, he is not much of a runner or like this was the longest he's ran. Like, he's supposed to run with me for, believe 8 miles, which for him was, like, super reasonable. He's like, "I've done that before." But he ended up running with me closer to, like, 16 miles, and just felt bad, and he didn't wanna leave me out there, like, suffering up this hill.
Hell of a section to, get the novice out. So
Yeah, straight
so
up.
this road, just for everybody, Powerline Road, I believe it's between Yermo and Prim, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so it's basically like a service road for all the power lines, in the desert there, and the desert's relatively flat, there's some inclines prior to Yermo, but this is like 90 miles of, I mean, probably up 1,500 to 2,000, down, up, down. I don't know the total elevation over that 90 miles, but it's extreme. It is the gnarliest road ever. I drove it. I actually rode a motorcycle on it on when we did it, and I mean, we were there at night too, and it's just like, I mean, it's unbelievable how relentless it is, and how many rocks, giant rocks are in the road, holes, ditches, ravines. Like, it is not a it is a really shitty road. Like, it's like a Jeep crawler road. Like, it's
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart, but, and once you get into it, like, there's that road that's halfway through, like, maybe 50 in, you probably met the RV there.
Mhm.
So you go, "Okay, cool. Like, I'm halfway done. We got this," and then you just go straight up with the
Yeah.
and it's like, "Holy shit." And it doesn't relent until you get into that final drop to the casino.
Yeah.
That how did that feel when were you it was it daytime or nighttime?
It's daytime, so it's
Okay.
so nice.
You could see all the mirrors down there, and there was,
Yeah.
the solar mirrors, and then you see, the casino. What'd that feel like after all the pain?
It was an insane relief. It was crazy, and right before then, like, the final, like, rolling hills, before we see all that was when I, like, found my legs again, and I felt the best that I felt until, like, mile 40. So, like, it was up until, like, mile 40 to 2:30, I just felt like absolute shit.
Yeah.
So coming out of that finally was when I started crying, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, these hills feel like nothing." And my buddy Nick, who is a super strong runner, I was dropping him on these climbs, and he was having to catch up with me, and it was just, like, an incredible feeling
Yeah.
to, like, refine that flow again and just have that confidence. And that moment, I was like, "Oh, I'm getting to Vegas. Like, there's no way I'm stopping now." So going that whole drop down into Prim was epic, and that whole, like, it was like what, like 50K or 30 miles on the Las Vegas Boulevard
Yeah.
was kind of like a victory 50K of
Just
I
so flat, maybe even downhill a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so it was so nice, and that's when, hitting Prim is when my dad and sister came up, and they paced with me a bit, and that was just it was just like a wholesome final stretch, and it was
Did you do a hot lap through the casino at the bottom of the hill?
no, no, we, like, kinda went around. Yeah.
Dude, when we got down that hill and, like, I mean, our nerves were just so fried as a crew,
Yeah.
because we as a crew, we were a Sprinter van and we had a motorcycle, and it was like a scary drive, had a scary run, and we got down there and there was like a couple vehicles in front of us, and I just remember when we pulled in and we were just like so relieved that we could just like chill for a minute, as a crew. And
Yeah.
I look over and there's like another crew next to us sitting in front of this RV and they're all crying. They were so shocked. Yeah, it was like a funeral. And I went up, I was like, "You okay? Is everything cool?" Just, like, praying that, like, everybody was healthy or whatever, and they're, "Yeah, that was a scary." They think they're from Europe or something, and they were just like, "That was the scariest 90 miles of our lives," and they were just bawling. But yeah, that's amazing, and rad that your family, your dad, your sister met you there and got to bring you
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and that kinda, like, wrapped up the entire run, like, in the best way possible, because it started off like, as a crew, we all obviously, like, we suffer together, and that's why I like the idea of TSP is that rule of, like, not the rule, but just the idea of, no spectators, because it is the truest thing ever. Like, my crew also got no sleep, and they were also like, Sarah paced me 70 miles, Jaden probably slept as much, if not less than me, which was about 4 hours in the entire, like, 3 to 4 day span.
Wow.
Yeah, because like, I slept 4 hours, but when I would sleep, he would just go over his footage again and then maybe sleep for a wink, and then I'd be up and then going. So, like, everyone was just grinding away the entire time. So, kinda having that final stretch and naturally just with pacing as well or, like, jumping the van, like, their job was a lot easier as well of, "I'll see you guys in 10 miles," like, "I'll let you know if I need anything." So, their job, like, was so much it was just, like, high vibes all around. Uh, and that led to me like, running the last 14 miles straight, um, because we had, like, 14 miles, and then we agreed to meet at mile 7, like, the halfway point to kind of, like, freshly crush the last 7, um, but as I was getting close to that point, I was like, "I feel great." Like, I feel no issues. I was my sister was pacing me, um so I was like, "Fuck it, like, I'm just gonna kinda gun it these last 7 miles and just see if the legs can hold up." So as I approached them, they were, like, getting ready to hype me up, like, my buddy Miguel was in, like, some cow costume, just, like, to keep it fun and silly, but I would just, like, yelled at him, I was like, "I'll see you guys fucking there, like, let's fucking go," and everyone was just got super rowdy and hectic, and they beelined it straight for the sign, and, like, my last 7 miles felt like my first. It was insane. I think my pace was around, like, 8 to 9 minutes, and the only times I stopped was at the lights,
Yeah.
and even then, I was, like, kinda, like, doing the not illegal thing, but if I saw it clear, I'd just sprint across the street, usually, I would've just taken advantage of that stop, and I was like, "No, I gotta get the fuck outta here, like, this is
Yeah.
I feel great, I don't want this to end." So, yeah, it just highs all the way to the very end, which is cool.
Epic. It's, it is, I tell people again, I just crewed it. I paced a little bit,
Mm,
but both times we did it, it was 2 of I would put as the 2, like, apex experiences I've had as, like, with friends, with family, with in sport, like, trying to accomplish a goal, like, you literally as a team and as runners and, like, the needles you have to thread to do that race effectively. If you're gonna do it in 5 days or a week, it'd be gnarly, but, like, whatever, but when you're, like, gunning, like, it is such an incredible experience. I can't say enough about the format and, you know, the way that they, and in your case, you did it a week after, 2 weeks after, so and hopefully we can, I don't know, are you gonna run it next year? Are you planning on it?
yeah,
Solo or you wanna do a team?
I probably if it's not with the team, I'd like to do solo the OG route.
Yeah.
I know it really is like that's initially what I wanted to do, but getting the details for that was also just kinda scary and hard for me, and once Nash gave me your guys' quickest way possible, I was like, "Perfect." Like, 287 miles is still really freaking hard. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's leave something to look forward to because I'd really, really like to do it again.
Nice. Yeah, let's talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd love to, yeah, participate in some way again. Okay, so speed project after party, check. We're gonna put out the movie pretty quick here, probably pretty close to the release of this little potty. I know you had an epic screening down at Oceanside, and we'll probably put together a couple stops at our stores.
Perfect. Yeah. The screening was sweet.
Yeah. So then the Mammoth 200. That
Yeah.
was a couple weeks ago. How was that?
That was a whole different experience. It was in the best way possible, but I think going into the Vegas run, it was, "Is this possible for me?" It was just an adventure, anything goes. And, like, the entire race through Vegas, I felt like we're getting away with murder. I was like, "I don't think I should be able to do this." And then once I finished, I felt very deserving of the finish of we went through hell and back to get this as a team, so I felt very assured in myself. So going into this race, I knew I could do it, but now is a question of, like, how efficient can I do it? So I took training pretty seriously and, um just I didn't wanna go into the mindset of racing because, again, I can spook myself with that, but it was the mindset of just pushing myself and seeing how, again, how efficiently can I do this race, and I'm pretty comfortable running in the mountains, so that wasn't as scary for me, but, very quickly in the race did I not, like, necessarily get humbled, but I got shown the purpose of the race, like, what it was in my not only like running career, but just my life in general,
Mm,
what this race was gonna serve for me. And
mm,
it wasn't a race, but just an experience again of so many issues can happen, but you can still find a way to keep going forward. Because in this race, obviously it's a long one, so issues are gonna happen, but so many new problems kept coming. Whereas like with Speed Project, I only had like 1 or 2 reoccurring issues, like with my knees or like stretching or locking. Like it was like these same muscles or things kept happening. Whereas this, we problem solved right away, and then immediately something else happened.
mm.
Uh, so I was like 30 miles in getting stomach issues, and I was like, "Fuck, like, no way." Like, usually I'm good with, like, food and stuff, so, going to my crew and kinda dealing with that and leaving my crew at, like, mile 33 or something, I felt great, and then during a section, I rolled my ankle, and I was like, "Fuck, okay, like, that didn't hurt that bad, I think it's fine." Um, so I, like, rattled in my head for a bit, and then going into the first night, we were told weather was like 45, high 40s. So I kept like my rain jacket and didn't think I needed too many extra layers, more than what they required. Uh, but our section in the night was going through these mountain like pockets, and in
Mm,
these pockets, it was near 30 degrees.
mm,
So it was freezing, and I felt bad for my pacer, because she was new to trail running in general. She's an amazing road runner. She's done sub 3 marathons,
mm,
but into trails is a whole new game.
yeah.
So, uh, she was also just like, "What the fuck is this? Like, this is crazy." I felt bad because obviously physically my legs were kinda already shot, but I was shivering while running and I couldn't warm up to run. The shivering prohibited me from running quicker.
Mm,
So we just had to like survive through the night. And then that extreme weather brought up my asthma, which wasn't an issue since middle school. So I didn't have an inhaler or anything. So like once the cold got over, yeah, my asthma came up and I like when it came, I didn't even know it was asthma at first. I just thought I was out of shape or the altitude.
yeah.
Because I was running with the buddy and I tried to talk to him. It was super small climb, but I was just losing my breath. I had to stop and like hands on my knees, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. And then once I started wheezing, he was like, "Oh, do you have issues with asthma?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like back in middle school, but yeah, like for sure." And so like the last 100 miles, I was just wheezing the entire time, struggling to talk. And I told my crew or my pacers like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I can't. I literally can't talk to you guys. Like I have to focus on my breathing."
Didn't find an inhaler from anybody?
We got an inhaler at the very end, but even then, once I got the inhaler, my ankle swelled up so much I couldn't even run. So, like once we solved that issue, another issue came.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was pretty gnarly to experience that. And we even went to an aid station uh medic and wanted to make sure it was nothing else crazy. But I'm probably, like, ratting on myself, but she was like, "Oh, like, your pulse ox is pretty low. I'd like you to see me in an hour,
Yeah.
and we'll see if you can continue the race." And, like, when she said that, like, I got terrified. I was like, "I'm outta here." Yeah, I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna DNF at this fucking aid station. I feel like I can do this." So, I did respect her rule of waiting an hour. I took, like, a nap. I had some food. I felt fine, but I just changed my clothes, and I took a pacer with me, and we just escaped out of the aid station. Because I was afraid she was just gonna kick me out. So, and I mean, I did it was pretty rough section after that too with the breathing, but, um, yeah, and in the last 50K of that race, my ankle just through, like, overuse and possibly because I rolled it, um, but I most likely through overuse, it just ballooned up, and I couldn't extend my toe, so I couldn't run on it anymore. And even in the last 30 miles, it was at 2 AM, and I was just over it, and I was like, "Fuck this, I wanna run." So I tried to run and immediately stopped like, dead in my tracks, and, it just forced me to go a lot slower than I wanted, so, like, my goal pace is out the window, and it was, again, just a race of learning and, learning to take a step back and kinda deal with, like, what's more important and also rely on my crew a lot because I like to try and deal with shit by myself. But getting an inhaler or doing all these things, I couldn't. I was in a race, so they had to do these things for me, and I had to, like, trust them. And it sounds crazy because there's, like, closest friends and family, but it was also just knowing, "Okay, when I get to this aid station, I expect this to be there," and that's hard for me to do. So I just gave so much more trust to just people in general, and I don't wanna, like, again, like, degrade, like, my family or close friends, but, that didn't matter to me at the time. It was more of I am not doing it myself, so I have no control over this issue.
Yeah.
Uh, so it kinda forced me to, like, slow down a lot and trust my crew a lot more.
Yeah.
Um But going into this a lot slower, I geared my sleep for 2 nights because I wanted to do this in 2 nights and finish on Sunday. But all the issues, I ran an extra night, finishing Monday, but that extra night was by far the worst night of my entire life. It was really bad. It started off fine. It was just a 12-mile section, and my friend Mo and I, again, first new to trail, she got all the terrible experiences. Um, we started going and I noticed I was like more tired and moving a lot slower. And I was like, hey, like, heads up, I'm probably gonna hallucinate up tonight. Like, just let you know, like, if I sound weird, yeah, I was like, something's coming. And I did let her know, like, it's happening because I started seeing faces again on the ground.
Well,
Was that not clowns? It was actually kinda interesting. It had rained, and, I guess maybe people before me or for whatever reason, the darkened sand from the rain, would, like, move, so then the dry sand under it was a lighter color. So it just would create these, like, cool mosaics, and I was seeing this art, and I was like, "Hey, just to let you know I'm hallucinating, but I'm like, I'm seeing some pretty cool shit right now. This is, like, pretty cool."
probably better than clowns.
Yeah, it was so much better than clowns. I even, like, stopped her and I was like, "Do you see this? Like, there's no way you can't see this." And she was entertaining it. She obviously couldn't see what I was talking about because I was tripping out.
Yeah.
But, that eventually reached an end because I just started getting, like, exhausted of the run. It was just a straight road, and I was like, "This is getting so boring. We're moving so slow." Um, and there was, like, a lull in just I think the silence is, like, really got me. I was trying to play music to, like, kinda break the silence, but even that was annoying me, and I was just like, "Something's off."
Mm.
And, maybe 20 minutes went by, and I just started feeling this heavy, like, weight on me and, like, deep depression. I was just, like, really sad and just kinda over it.
Mm.
I was like, "This is a weird feeling." Like, "Oh, man." And as I'm, like, experiencing this, trying to feel, like, what's going on, um, I started, like, seeing, I started seeing, like, dead bodies and just crazy, crazy shit, man. And, it was my just demeanor and, like, how I was carrying myself was just obviously super palpable to my friend Mo, because immediately she was like, "What are you seeing? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "I don't wanna talk about it, like, I'm gonna keep my head down." And she, after the fact, was like, "Yeah, like, there's just something different." And even she felt what was like, what I was experiencing, and I was just having a hard time just not seeing it anymore. Like, I was just seeing it was everywhere, and I was like, really, the weight just was unbearable for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna, like," with hallucinating, it was you're fighting against sleep. So I was like, "I'm gonna give into sleep because I'm not liking what I'm seeing right now." And it's, like, really it's really fucking with me, like, I don't feel good. So, I think our last 4 miles, I don't remember because I was essentially just sleepwalking. I was just falling over my feet and would constantly just, like, yeah, be bobbing my head or wake up as I'm, like, falling forward and, like, catch myself, luckily. Um
Did you stop and sleep for a little bit or you didn't? You just carried on?
Oh, we just carried on. It was cold, and I know if I, like, would've laid down, it would've been shit sleep, and I would've just also felt bad for her because she would've been standing there just freezing.
Yeah.
So, we're again, like, 4 or 5 miles from the car, so I was like, "We just gotta make it, and I can sleep there." Um, but yeah, I just felt so bad for her because even in her head, she's like, "This guy is falling asleep behind me." I'm, like, not running in a straight line, and she's like, "Ah, I can't carry him, like, if he collapses and gets hurt, like, we're kinda fucked." Like, her world was kinda falling apart too, my world was falling apart, so it was just a death march for us both. Um, and just even, like, some experiences were happening that she mentioned after the fact that I have no recollection of. Um, but I do remember I fell asleep for 1 second and I had a full REM sleep, which is insane. Like, it's straight up 1 second. My lower back was hurting a lot and I was running with my poles And I was like, "Hey, I have to stop running or stop, like, we're power hiking." So, "Yeah, I have to stop for a second. My back hurts a lot." And she's like, "Okay." And she's right in front of me. And I leaned down to, like, stretch my back out. And as I lean down, I fall asleep, have a dream. And in this dream, my sister, I'm looking at the back of my sister's car with like a sticker on it. I can't read the sticker. So in reaction to that dream, I like stand back up and I'm like, Maddie, what's that sticker on your car? And I'm talking to her
Yeah.
and I'm like realizing like this is not Maddie, my sister, this is Mo. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And she's just standing like deer in headlights. She's like, what just happened? I was like, I think I had a dream. Like, how long was I laying down for? Like, lean over. She's like, you literally leaned down for a second. Like in her eyes, I just like did this and I looked up and just thought she was my sister.
Wow. How'd your back feel after that?
Yeah, it still hurt.
I was hoping it was like your the REM sleep just like repaired your
Right
psyche.
away.
We were onto something here. Yeah, so yeah, seems like you yeah, I mean those are gnarly experiences. I think, for anybody that backpacks or, you know, adventures out there, in the backcountry, like, although you're, 5 miles at that point away from a car and, I'm imagining just in the Eastern Sierras, probably at any moment, you might have been, like, maybe 20 to 30 miles away from some sort of a service road or something, but at the end of the day, like, you're out there, and when shit goes wrong and, like, especially when you're, you know, just relying on your own 2 feet, right? And sure, you have a pacer, but stuff can go so sideways, and you are just so vulnerable in those moments. I'm not surprised that, you see clowns and dead bodies, to root you on, get situation. Probably your mind, not playing tricks on you, but trying to motivate you to push through and get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a feeling of, like, not belonging. I
Mm.
was like, "I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I gotta keep going." But just, like, being surrounded by all of that just weighed so heavy on me, and, it was, like, the hard to breathing, the not being able to move quick. It was just overwhelming, so I immediately was like, "I need to disassociate from everything, and I need to just, like, kinda give into the sleep and see how far I can go." And, again, luckily we made it. That might have been an irresponsible thing for me, and it probably would've been a better, overall safer call to sleep for maybe 10 to 20 minutes. But just at the moment, stubborn nature as well, I was just like, "We just gotta get to the car." Um, and it is funny because even then, I don't remember really getting to the car. I just remember waking up in the back of, I think it was my mom's car and being super confused and not knowing where I was, and it was just like, that also felt like a fever dream because like, my parents were there, my friends were there, I was like, "What the hell, like, is going on?" And she, like, handed me my running shoes, and I was like, "Oh, fuck, like, I'm still doing this." Like, "No." Like, no, I slept, like, 20 miles, man, like, dang it. So, it was that whole stretch was just it just messed with me. And then after that, luckily, it was I think because I was close to the finish, I felt a lot better, and after, like, getting that sleep I definitely needed, but, yeah, it was a night that I, like, think about pretty constantly, and, like, it's just tripping me out on.
Well, yeah, and one that you wanted to avoid, right? Going into it, knowing no repercussions of getting to the 3rd night, and, um, so, yeah, so you finish, I think would you get 22nd, 23rd, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. I'm actually not entirely sure, but I know it's the lower 20s, which is
Yeah. Which is a super, super admirable finish.
yeah.
I was even as I studied, I was watching you, tracking you the whole time and studying your rest stops, and it was like that was actually one of the big differences between maybe, like, 23rd and, like, maybe even top 10 was it was you had these issues, you had to, like, probably stop longer than you wanted to stop, and
Yeah.
that was the main it was less the pace differential from, like, top 10 and, down to 20th, it was more the stoppage time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would and I just blame that all on my ankle. Like, my ankle would just be radiating heat because of the swelling and just pain. So immediately into the aid station, I'd flip on my back, kick my feet up, and we'd ice it until I felt like it wasn't burning up, and then we'd keep going. But sometimes that'd take like 30 minutes. But at that point, it was just it'd be better to wait a little bit longer and cool this off before just pressing on and maybe hurting it a lot more. But the stops were mainly because of, like, my ankle issues, which
And asthma.
and asthma and some of it
Everybody was hallucinating, I know that much.
yeah, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, so it'll be fun to race it again or race that distance because you kinda know what maybe held you back and,
Yeah.
where you need to be, and that's awesome. So, I think you said it just prior to talking about, both of the races is that they sort of, like, take you on this metaphorical voyage through life and, like, when you encounter problems, taking steps back, getting back on the trail, maybe, also a concept of trust that you
Yeah.
mentioned, and, I think all of us, we're individualists and we try and get, you know, stuff done our own, so I can totally relate to this, like, lack of trust, and, "Hey, man, it's like, oh, it's cool to accept help."
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know if you have anything to elaborate on that kind of, like, the metaphorical journey these long distance runs have,
Mhm.
but, is that fair to say that
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think that's why I think everyone's so drawn to them. It's just you're living a life so quickly in this span of a race. Uh, Obviously, 200 miles, 2 to 3 days is a long race, but in terms of what feels like living a whole life experience in those couple days is pretty freaking addicting, but also just gnarly. And I think as a whole, it helps me grow as a person. Um, because again, I have my own agenda, but that obviously doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's whatever the mountains, whatever the race is supposed to provide for me. I feel like as my training, I did almost everything right. As I could have obviously done like more training at elevation or gone places higher. But the first 30 miles, I felt amazing. I was right where I wanted to be. I wanted to be like right behind front pack because I know I'm not fast, but I can fight pretty well. So like my race in my head was going to start 100 miles past. And I was like, I'm just going to hang on, be a little behind them. And then once 100 miles, then I'll see what I'm made of. But that none of that mattered because at mile 30, I felt like I was going to throw up. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, why am I feeling like this right now? And it was just kind of taking a step back and realizing, "Oh, this is my race, but, like, I am not in charge." And, like, whatever, like, life or, like, whatever's being thrown at me is what kinda makes my race, and it kinda depends on how I react to everything.
Yeah.
'Cause I could easily been like, "This is stupid, this isn't my race, I quit," and then DNF and on to next year, but I think if that was the last thing, I'm more of like death to DNF. I'd rather figure it out and kinda take what I can from the race. Because again, I do believe there's so much to learn from it, but also I pour so much into it. My crew and family pours so much into it. And I feel like it's like at a point of disrespect to them as well. Cause they're out there as well at 2 a.m. waiting outside a car in the freezing cold while I sleep in there for 40 minutes.
Mm,
So it's not a sacrifice only for me, but they're putting an effort.
mm,
Uh, so, like, unintentionally, it is up to me to, like, make sure their efforts are worth it. No matter how well or bad I do, that doesn't really matter. It's just, do I get to the end goal as, like, a team effort?
yeah,
So that's, like, the main drive as to what kept me going is there's somebody at an aid station for me, and they're, like, waiting to help me and do anything that I need to. So it's less for me and more for, like, us as a crew. So
you gotta grab onto anything you can find.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, straight up, yeah.
It's almost like and really at any race, I think you could even say it with, like, a half marathon or a marathon. It's like your start is like you're coming out of the womb, then you get into some kinda, like, awkward teenage years.
Yeah.
You maybe hit, like, a midlife crisis around, like, mile 100. You're wondering why you're doing this and what you need to do with it. And then you just walk up to the grave at the end, you take a look at it, and instead of laying down in it, you just fucking run past it.
Going. Yeah. No, yeah, straight up, yeah. It's without a doubt, everyone has the same experience, which is what I love. Like, obviously, you can like, I had an amazing race, but that doesn't mean you don't have those experiences. Like, everyone has those experiences, but then it's just a matter of how prepared were you to kind of maneuver through them, or if you like anticipated correctly through them as well. Um, but yeah, it's always have those walls pretty consistently. You have that question like, "Why the fuck am I out here?" Your reason usually isn't the best reason as well, but you find a way to like just keep moving on until your why is enough. Because sometimes my why isn't enough, and I'm just like, "Yeah, like why is it? Why am I out here? Why did I drag my whole family and friends out here?" And um, my reasoning sometimes isn't again enough, but just finding a way to keep moving forward through that uncertainty and then trusting that soon it will make sense. And I'm just obviously not in the right state of mind,
Mm.
but um Yeah, I think there is just a lot I'm learning from just moving forward no matter, like, what I'm thinking or feeling, just because 'cause I've learned that no feeling lasts too long. It's forever changing, so
So, if you had to unpack the why, right? So, we're sort of talking about, smashing through the impossible as the theme there. Like,
mm,
if you had to really unpack it in your own mind and sort of like explain what is it about smashing through the impossible that moves you, what do you think it is?
I think I find that I think it's when I like the byproduct of when I do these things, why I've been sharing it so, vocally as well is because I like the impact that people can get from it as well. Uh, personally, like, through not only running, but just other people doing some hard tasks, sometimes they're just like, "Oh, I'm doing this for myself," or not for myself, but just, "I'm doing this because you can't," or like, "I'm tougher than you," or like some like cliche or just like, I dare you to be like me," and it's not necessarily deterring, but it's trying to put them up a little higher, and they're trying to encourage people to be higher with them, which I can understand in a sense. Um, but I like to try and do these tasks or these hard runs and everything, but also just show the vulnerability that comes along with it. Um, and if, like, knowing that doing this run and like direct impact is my pacers, like doing this run with them. Mo, she ran 28 miles, which was the longest she's ever run. To have her do that with me and then her just honestly constantly telling, like, "I'm doing this because of you. Like, because of you, I'm experiencing this, and this is amazing, and I'm very grateful for this." And, like, knowing that this suffering at this moment, I know it's not gonna last forever, but at this moment, this suffering's purpose is like, raising somebody else up, gives me so much motivation. And I know once I finish this run, if I'm able to, I know this will also kind of have a question of other people of, well, that shit was impossible, but he did it. Like, what's something that I can't do that I actually can that I'm just not daring to ask? So I found so much gratitude in life in that kind of pocket of just not raising myself up, but kind of bringing myself around people and trying to get through these experiences with other people. Um, because again, they are hard tasks and they're very proper. Um, but I think people think they're below these tasks, and I was and still am one of them, and I'm only able to get through all of this with other people. So I think that's like my big why is just approaching these. And again, it's in the end of the day, it's running. Like, it's not life or death, but it's still pretty fucked. And yeah, it could be life or death actually. But yeah,
Maybe 5K ain't life or death, but the
yeah.
287 is pretty.
It's pretty gnarly, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's, well said. I think, knowing you and following you and sort of learning what you care about, community is huge in your life. I know it's a
Yeah.
big part of, everything you do, whether it's the climbing gym, with the run club, raising money for different organizations. I see that you find cause, very often in the runs, and even the way you described, like, you know, wanting to get through the night, not really for yourself, but for your pacer.
Yeah.
Again, kinda like, I think this push and pull between, motivating yourself to smash through goals, but also trying to bring people along with you to show that they can do it too,
Mm.
is very inspiring and really, like, I think, like, the pillar of, great community organizer, so props to you. I think that's a really killer, innate thing in you that I hope, yeah, continue to pursue.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's something I'm slowly finding more out about myself, because before running, I guess even, because even, like, the start of my running career was very much just personal, and then Strava was my main way of tracking everything, and I had maybe just a couple close friends following, and I wasn't super vocal about my running, so it just was really random for them to see me all of a sudden run a marathon and then 50K a month later.
Mm.
So having that, like, personal interaction with them and, like, "Dude, I saw you did this," like, that motivated me to try and do a half marathon, and, like, kind of getting hints of that, I'm like, "Oh, this could be more than just about myself," and, like, in a very, very positive way, because personally for me, I found a lot of confidence through running, and I know that's just for the sake of running, it's not for what I'm doing, but just running as a whole, I think, and kind of doing something that even is a little hard for yourself and achieving it builds confidence. Um, so I think that kind of, like, sparked an interest in me, and I just keep trying to unfold and unveil, like, what is under that
Yeah.
light there.
But like I was telling you, like, how old are you? 28?
27.
27? So, like, you got, like, a nice little, like, 10, 15-year period ahead of you with
Yeah.
is that, like, I feel like you could come into your own and keep exploring those layers and, get faster and, accomplish whatever goals you want with them. Uh,
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing that. Um, one final question, I guess, sort of a closer is, just an easy one, like, what's your next goal? What do you got your sights set on? It doesn't even have to be running, like, life goals, running goals, or
Um, I think my right now, a main goal is to find a way to, um, make running and community very cohesive and kind of make that, like, my main priority in life. I and right now I'm setting and climbing for a living with Vital, the climbing gym, and I love that world very, very much. But I feel like it's giving to a community, but I think with running, it's a little I can find ways to be more personal with it because I've had a more personal journey with it. With climbing, um, it is relatively personal, but it was a thing of building with friends and doing things with friends, and I just found community very easily that way. Whereas with running, I there was no, like, run clubs around here, and when I first started, so having to start my own and kind of build into that, is something I grew a personal connection with into, like, that world of building a community and then also just kinda, like, um, making sure the foundation's good and everyone's, like, just there for the right reasons and everything like that. So I've found and grown a lot in that space, and I think a goal is to see where my life can take into that space right now. Um, yeah, I do find a lot of purpose in that right now, which is really cool. And I wouldn't have expected that 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was doing firefighting stuff, and that's still there. That's still, like, a thing in my list, and I'm like, it's nice to have that privilege of what am I gonna do with my life? Because if this running stuff doesn't work out, then I have something greater than me. Like, the whole fire service is an insane awesome thing, and I know if I go into that, that's my life, and that's totally fine because it is, again, something bigger than myself, but for right now, I wanna focus or at least have the sustainability to focus all my attention into community and running and seeing what I can do with it, and then probably think of some dumb runs along the way, some crazy crazy stuff, but
expect nothing less. I know we're looking forward to supporting you. Um, explore all that, explore community, grow community, and continue to peel the layers back and go.
yeah.
So, thanks so much for all your support of Roark and repping it like a champ. And we're really happy to and proud to be involved with everything you do. So just want to give you a shout out there and thanks for spending looks like about an hour and change on the Tangled Yarns podcast here.
Sweet. That was great.
That was fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you, man.
See you next time.